The morning sun cast golden light through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Bradford Industries building. James Bradford, CEO and founder, sat behind his mahogany desk reviewing the day's interview schedule. At 58, he'd built his company from nothing, and he took pride in meeting every potential employee personally. His assistant knocked softly. "Mr. Bradford, your 9 o'clock is here." James glanced at his notes. Sarah Mitchell. Single mother, applying for the administrative assistant position. He'd seen hundreds of resumes just like hers over the years. "Send her in," he said, straightening his navy suit jacket. The door opened, but instead of an adult, a young girl walked in. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old. She wore a pink dress with ruffles at the hem and a gray cardigan that seemed a size too big. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she clutched a worn leather folder against her chest. James stood up, confused. "Hello there. Are you lost, sweetheart?" The girl walked forward with surprising determination. Her small shoes made soft sounds on the polished floor. She stopped in front of his desk and looked up at him with serious blue eyes. "I'm not lost, sir," she said quietly. "My mom's sick, so I came instead." James felt his heart skip. He came around the desk and knelt down so he was at her eye level. "Your mom, Sarah Mitchell?" The girl nodded. "Yes, sir. I'm Emma Mitchell. Mom has been preparing for this interview for 2 weeks. She was so excited, but this morning she woke up with a terrible fever. She could barely get out of bed." James felt a lump forming in his throat. "Emma, that's very sweet of you to come, but an 8-year-old can't interview for a job." "I'm 9, actually," Emma corrected him gently, "and I know I can't take the job. But Mom said this was her chance. She's been looking for work for 6 months since her last company closed. We're behind on rent and—" Her voice wavered slightly. "I didn't want you to think she just didn't show up. I wanted you to know she really wanted to be here." James stood slowly, deeply moved. This child had navigated city buses or walked blocks, all to preserve her mother's reputation with a stranger. "Why don't you sit down, Emma?" He gestured to the chair across from his desk. Emma climbed up onto it, her feet dangling above the floor. She carefully opened the folder and pulled out a resume. "This is Mom's resume," she said, sliding it across the desk. "She has 15 years of experience in office management. She types 80 words per minute. She knows Excel, Word, and some other computer programs I can't remember." James picked up the resume, but he was watching Emma more than reading it. "You're a very brave girl, Emma. Tell me about your mom." Emma's face brightened. "Mom is the best. She always makes sure I do my homework. She volunteers at my school library even though she's tired from looking for work. She sings while she cooks, not very well, but it makes me laugh." She smiled at the memory. "She never complains even when things are hard. And she always tells me that kindness matters more than money." "Smart woman," James said softly. He thought of his own daughter, now grown and living across the country. He remembered when she was Emma's age, full of love and loyalty for her family. "Mom said you built this company yourself," Emma continued. "She read all about you. She said you started in a tiny office with just 2 employees and now you have 200. She said that showed determination and vision." Emma pronounced the last words carefully as if she'd practiced them. James chuckled despite himself. "She did her homework. Mom always does her homework. She makes me do mine, so she does hers too." Emma's expression grew serious again. "Sir, I know you need to hire someone today. I know Mom can't interview right now. But would it be possible to maybe interview her another day, when she's better? I promise she'll be here. Mom always keeps her promises." The office fell quiet. James looked at this small girl who'd undertaken such a big mission. He thought about all the candidates he'd interviewed over the years, people with perfect resumes and polished answers. But how many would have raised a daughter this thoughtful, this loyal? "Emma, I'll do better than that," James said. "I'd like to visit your mom if that's all right. I can interview her at home." Emma's eyes widened. "Really, you'd do that?" "I would. But first I have a question for you." James leaned forward. "If your mom gets this job, what will you do after school?" "Who takes care of you?" "There's an after-school program at my school," Emma explained. "It costs money, but Mom said if she got a job, we could afford it. Right now I go to Mrs. Chen's apartment next door. She's really nice, but she's old and can't hear very well. I have to shout when we talk." James smiled. "I see. Well, Emma, Bradford Industries has a partner program with Sunshine Learning Center. It's 2 blocks from here. Employees' children can attend for free. There are tutors there who help with homework. Emma's eyes filled with tears. For free, really? Really? James felt his own eyes getting misty. When had he become such a softie? Now can you give me your address? I'll come by this afternoon. Emma recited the address carefully and James wrote it down. He noticed it was in a neighborhood he knew, not the safest area but working families holding on to dignity and hope. Thank you, sir, Emma said, sliding down from the chair. Thank you so much. Emma, wait. James walked over to his bookshelf and pulled out a children's book he kept there. His daughter had given it to him years ago. This was my daughter's favorite. I'd like you to have it. Emma took the book carefully, reverently. I'll take good care of it. I know you will. James walked her to the door. Emma, your mom should be very proud of you. She is, Emma said simply. And I'm proud of her too. After Emma left, James sat in his chair for a long moment. He canceled his remaining interviews for the morning. Then he called his assistant. Margaret, I need you to prepare an employment contract for Sarah Mitchell. Standard administrative assistant salary plus full benefits. And add a note about the Sunshine Learning Center for her daughter. But, sir, you haven't interviewed her yet, Margaret said, surprised. James smiled. Yes, I have. Just not the way I expected. That afternoon, James drove to the address Emma had given him. It was a modest apartment building, clean but showing its age. He climbed 3 flights of stairs and knocked on Unit 3B. Emma opened the door, her face breaking into a huge smile. You came. Mom, he's here. James entered a small, tidy apartment. Everything was old but spotlessly clean. There were books everywhere, on shelves, stacked on the coffee table, piled next to a worn sofa. Drawings covered the refrigerator. This was a home full of love, even if money was scarce. Sarah Mitchell emerged from a bedroom wrapped in a bathrobe. Her blonde hair was damp from a shower and her face was flushed with fever, but she stood straight. She looked mortified. Mr. Bradford, I'm so sorry. I can't believe Emma. I just found out she went to your office. I'm horrified. James held up his hand. Mrs. Mitchell, please don't apologize. Your daughter showed more courage and loyalty today than most adults I meet. She spoke very highly of you. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She shouldn't have. She absolutely should have, James said firmly but kindly. Mrs. Mitchell, may I sit down? I'd like to talk with you if you're feeling up to it. They sat at the small kitchen table. Emma brought her mother water and sat protectively close to her. James asked about Sarah's work experience, her skills, her goals. But mostly he talked with her about life, about raising children alone, about persistence, about dignity in difficult times. Sarah answered his questions thoughtfully, professionally despite her fever. She was exactly what her resume promised. Experienced, intelligent, capable. But more than that, she was genuine, real. After 30 minutes, James stood. Mrs. Mitchell, I'd like to offer you the position. We'll need you to start Monday if you're recovered. The salary is $45,000 annually, with full health benefits. Emma can attend Sunshine Learning Center after school at no cost. Sarah stared at him. Mr. Bradford, I can't accept charity. It's not charity. It's employment. You're qualified for this position. Your daughter's courage this morning just moved you to the front of the line. James smiled. Besides, Bradford Industries has a philosophy. We hire people who understand what matters. Family, loyalty, kindness. Your daughter demonstrated all 3 today. That tells me you taught her well. And that tells me what kind of person you are. Sarah put her face in her hands and wept. Emma wrapped her arms around her mother. James quietly placed the contract on the table. Take the weekend to think about it, but I hope you'll join our team. As he drove back to the office, James thought about the thousands of decisions he'd made in his career. This was one of the easiest, and one of the best. Sarah Mitchell did join Bradford Industries that Monday. She proved to be exceptional, organized, efficient, and deeply committed. Emma flourished at the Learning Center, making friends and bringing home excellent grades. But more than that, they reminded James why he'd started his business in the first place. Not just for profit, but to create opportunities, to recognize that behind every resume is a human story, To understand that sometimes the best interview comes from a 9-year-old girl, brave enough to show up when her mother couldn't. Years later, James would tell this story often. Not as a tale of his own generosity, but as a lesson in paying attention to what truly matters, in looking beyond the surface, in remembering that kindness, loyalty, and courage are the real measures of character. And on his desk, next to the photo of his own daughter, he kept a drawing Emma had made for him, a child's rendering of a man in a suit and a girl in a pink dress shaking hands. Underneath, in careful letters, she had written, "Thank you for seeing us." That's all any of us really want, James thought whenever he looked at it. To be seen, to be valued, to know that showing up matters. Emma had shown up that morning, and in doing so, she changed more than just her mother's life. She reminded James Bradford what true success really means.